Welcome, everyone. My name is Iñigo Cruz. I'm part of the Yacemos Europeos team. Today with me, and you will see their names around, are Stichu and Sergio. They are also part of the team, and they will intervene during today's session to explain you a couple of things about the CVTs, the test themselves, the digital skills needed for the competitions, and some other aspect that we hope will be of your interest. That's the first thing I would like to mention. But the second idea that I would like to mention that the following presentation is based on real experience, what we have learned as candidates, as you were, and what we have learned helping others to train for these competitions in the last few years, plus all the news and everything we have the capacity to gather in the last months, because we know things haven't been easy for all of you. EPSO competitions have been frozen for a while, news were scarce, so we'll try to reactivate, cheer you up with today's webinar to see you that there is light at the end of the tunnel. We are approaching it and competitions are coming back, so we need to get ready. Let's see how as well. So, and of course, the PowerPoint of today's presentation will be available on the video on YouTube. So don't worry, you will have access to it on later on. So how we are going to do it? So you see the menu for today, how we're going to plan it. So what's happening, what's going on with the competitions? Important to know where we are, where do we start, and what competitions can apply to. This is important also to know. Maybe some of you are already veterans. They know, some of you know quite well EPSO and their competitions, but maybe others don't. You are just beginning now. You are starting. So the point is that, well, we have everybody at the same level. That's why that will be our second point. Third point, and probably the most interesting for all of you. So what test will they face? How do we pass them? That's the key. So we will see the application. Yes, it's going to be your first test. The CBT, computer-based test. The second, third test, writing test. Also the digital skills and the multiple choice questionnaire, meaning the knowledge exam in relation with your competition. We will see today 3 competitions. In the MCQ, multiple choice questionnaire for transport, for nuclear, and for generalist, meaning you knowledge. For other competitions like economist or crisis and migration that they will reopen soon, we will see them when we have the new notice of competition in our hands. Before that, we prefer not, because we could make involuntary mistakes, and we don't want to do that. So then we will see how long does the competition process take on ideal conditions. Yes, we know at this moment it's taking too long, and it's not ideal conditions by far. When should they start preparing the exams? That's a very common question that we get from the candidates, and also connected to this other question: how many hours do I need to study to prepare myself for this competition? So we will try to answer all these 2 questions connected to the previous elements that we have spoken about. Finally, last but not least, how can from Yacemos Europeos help you? That's one thing. And of course, we will open the mics for your questions, because the idea is that if you're here today, it's not only to listen, but to be active and ask questions. The only thing that we ask is wait until the end for the questions, because sometimes we are lucky enough or smart enough, hopefully, to answer your questions before or during the presentation, before it comes to the time of the question. So no need to repeat again the same information. We have space and time for other questions that maybe we didn't cover during today's webinar. So without waiting anymore, let's go for it. So what's happening? As I say, we have a bumpy road during the last months, even could say years, because all these problems of migrating from physical exams in the prometric facility centers or testing centers to your computers, to online with the Prometric platform, has been far from ideal. It's been difficult. We got this latest statement, is what you got on your screen, on what's going on. And now we got the announcement that the CAS exam are coming back, but also other competitions are reactivating. And that's the best news we can share. This is a document, what you see on your screen, shared by EPSO a few weeks ago, where they clearly state what we knew: transport and And nuclear profiles are a competition open again. They have a second chance for people to register, and now they're waiting to get a date of their exam. While for the CAS, we got it for the 15th of June. And for other competitions like crisis, migration, economics, we will see them reopen again and introducing new changes, particularly the new 24 languages regime that will be introduced. Meanwhile, generalist has been pre-announced for this year. Some or scenarios that Generalis is coming back at the end of 2024, and the exam will be all right before Christmas, or most likely after, beginning of 2025. But still, good news. We are reactivating. We are coming back to life, right? I mean, it's always the positive side of all this. But what else can we say? Yep. Oops. Yeah. Where do you start, and what competition can I apply to? This is another one of the most common questions we get. Where do we start? How do we know that this work European for the European institutions? It's my thing. How do I know that it's the place where I want to be? So, well, first of all, you need to ask yourself some questions. So, do you want to work in an international institution? Do you identify with the European project? Sorry, but the European Union is a political project. So you have to identify a little bit with yourself with it in order to be at ease working for the European institutions. So are you ready to work away from home? We are assuming that those who are listening this video now are not from Brussels or Belgium and Luxembourg. You are coming from other countries, so meaning that you are not home. Remember that you are supposed to live in the place where the institutions are, meaning Belgium, Brussels most likely, and Luxembourg. Do you want to work with other cultures? Do you like working on broad topics and learning new things continuously? Yes, learning is a must in working in the institutions. So are you ready for that? And are you willing to work hard? Yes, life in the institutions is nice, it's good, it has a lot of advantages. But if you're thinking that is the life of a typical cliche functionary, just drinking coffee and doing nothing, this is not your place. Let's assume that all of you have answered yes to all these questions. So please continue with us, because then this is your place. The institutions can be an excellent opportunity for all of you. If you answer no to any one of these questions, well, maybe continue watching. Maybe you will learn something and you will change your mind. So you never know. But also important to remember, I mentioned about the location of the institutions, and just as a way of showing it by numbers, not by saying things, but just proving it. So we see that this the graphics are for the commission, the staff working for the commission, and we see that 3/4 work between Luxembourg and Brussels. Well, almost 2/3 work in Brussels. So and only less than 1/4 work outside of these two possibilities, meaning 10% more or less of staff of the commission works in other places of Europe, mostly ISPRA, for instance, in Italy, but also in the small offices located on its capital or main city of Europe as communication offices. So, as you see, there's not much staff working there, and also outside of the European Union in cooperation projects or as attaches of transport, trade, some in the European delegations. In fact, so, just for your knowledge, there is more staff of the Commission working abroad than from the External Action Service. Just to give you an idea of the numbers, but still, these numbers are small in comparison with those who are working in the central sites, meaning Brussels and Luxembourg. So that's regarding the place where you will work. But also, we raised the other question about your profile, right? So, but wait, I study education. No, wait, I study interpretation. No, I study law. I study nuclear physics. I study naval engineering. All these profiles have a place. So the truth is that we have seen so far so many different necessities from the institutions that it's possible to find your place. And the worst mistake you can commit is to say, no, my profile is too specific, or it's too strange, too bizarre, there is no chance that I will find a place in the institutions. But the truth is that there is a chance, there is a nice chance to find that place. So it's important that you acknowledge and you are familiar with your own working experience, you have identified, and you see how it approaches the needs of the institutions. Yeah, you try to close the gap between what they need and what you can offer. Also important to think that your diploma or your degree doesn't define you. Most of the times, the specialist competitions are in relation with the professional experience in the field, not with a certain degree. There's quite a lot of flexibility with the university degree you can have for a specialist competition. So please don't put the no before. Always check the notice, always check the information available to see if you can match the conditions and the criteria. Don't put them there yourself by using your imagination. No, just always stick to the notice and see if you fill in this criteria, because you will see that all of your profiles has a place in the institution. No matter if you're a lawyer, economist, an engineer, scientist, or interpreter, all of them, they have a place in the institutions. But important, always in relation with your professional experience, with your academic background, and everything. Everything needs to be official. If you've been working in the shadows, let's call it like that, for a company, and you're an expert in editing, but it was a kind of non-official job, it doesn't count. So we need to be official. That's also important, because you will be asked to have your papers with you: diploma, social security historical record, contracts, or if you've been working as an autonomous person, so meaning invoices, some kind of track or evidence that prove it. And of course, based on the last competitions, what we've seen that all this profile we've seen in competition, like lawyers, diplomats, engineers of all kinds, experts in maritime, but also security and defense, space, yes, but a special engineer, is that possible? Yes, there are people who are specialists in space things and they got their own competition. Cooperation, of course, education, chemical, physical, mathematical areas, science. So you see, I mean, everybody has a place. That's the idea we want to transmit to all of you. Sometimes we will need to look better or harder to find that place, but it's there. And another element before we can continue that you need to be two elements, two ideas. First of all, is the fact that to work in the European institutions, by default, you will have to have a good knowledge of two languages, one at C1 level and the other at P2 level. Mm, I'm saying two languages randomly, so I'm on the 24, and it could be one your native language, no matter what, and the second, preferably a working language, it will be the ideal. So, meaning, if I speak Portuguese and French, could I be? Yes. If I speak Finnish and Italian, yeah, that's possible. If I speak French and English as well. So, all kind of combinations are now possible to pass the competitions and to become an officer. That's the advantage of the latest changes. Also, another issue that comes across many cases is the fact that people sigh or thinking, okay, but wait, if there is a competition already active and I'm part of that competition, I cannot participate in another competition, right? Why not? Unless the notice of competition say otherwise, you can participate in all the competitions you want. So if there is a competition about specialist in law, EU law, you have a degree in law, you participate in that competition, and then there comes another competition about experts in the area of competition, or trade and competition. So, and you're actually as a legal expert on that area, and you meet all the criteria, you can participate in these two competitions in parallel. Absolutely. The only thing is that just be careful they don't overlap in dates regarding the exam or something like that, because there won't be possible to reschedule, but that's the only limit. If the notice doesn't say the contrary, you can participate. That's one thing. Second thing that you need to bear in mind, the levels. When you read a notice of competition, any position, and it said that it's an 85 level, means that they are considering that you don't need particular professional experience. So you can just have your degree, university degree, and that's it. If it's an 86, means that it's 3 years. If it's an 87, it's 6 years. So, and you can add on. So 88, you can imagine 9 years, and so on. So one level up means the requirement will be 3 years of relevant experience. Relevant experience. This is always the keywords. What is relevant experience? very easy. I mean, if it's a competition for lawyers and you got experience as a nuclear scientist, well, that's going to be difficult because law, nuclear science, maybe it's not the same. But if you got experience working in a legal firm, defending clients in front of the court, yeah, that could be relevant. So that's valid. So that's the idea. In any case, the notice of competition will define what is relevant, what can be considered relevant information. And of course, the sweet of all this is that the higher the level, the higher the salary. As you can see on the screen, so an 85 now starting salary is 5,500. But for an 87, we are already talking about 7,000 euros per month. Just gross, but with the expatriation allowance and some other extra considerations and deducting the taxes, it stays more or less the same as net salary. So it's a good opportunity, right? And one last lesson on this part is the fact that the process that we will talk today, and we always talk when we're talking about EPSO competitions, EPSO selection processes, vacancies. I mean, this rule applies to all of them. Is that the fact that you need to go through the same process? The problem is that sometimes candidates are very good; they have great experience, great expertise, but they get frustrated because of the process. They think it is not fair for them, for the qualifications, for the experience. But the problem is that they need to compare between thousands or hundreds of candidates. So the only way is to treat you equally the same, to do the same process. Maybe it's not the most suitable for all the candidates, but at least it's fair in the sense that everybody will be treated the same way, positively or negatively. What it means depends to you. But don't forget that. So don't get frustrated by the system. Just try to beat the system, proving that you are the right candidate. Explain that you got what is needed. So, and another idea that I will insist today, we will insist today, in fact, and my colleagues and I, we will insist a lot. We will keep insisting until the end of times. Please, please, please. When there is a new competition, when there is a new opportunity to become an officer in the European institutions, they always will be publishing what is called a notice of competition. We call it the secret document because it contains a lot of information, like the secret books that contains the hidden treasure, the indication on how to reach the gold of the pirate that contains the whole adventure. Well, the truth is that the notice of competition contains all that. It contains information about the test that you will face, the requirements that you need to fulfill to be candidate, a valid candidate, the languages, how they're going to be part of the exams, the tasks that you're expected to perform in that position, and more details. But also the truth is that the candidates they don't read it. They forget that there's that wealth of information in this booklet, let's call it booklet, but it's a bunch of papers. I mean, it's no more than 20 pages, but it contains a lot of information. And this information is really needed to understand how the process is going to be. So please, 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 whenever you got a new competition in your hands, go the first day to read the notice of competition. Forget everything else. Don't rush. Just read it. Try to understand it. Because if you do so, you will be in a great advantage compared to the rest of the candidates. And we are not joking about that. If you allow us to say 90%, 80% of the candidates, they don't read it. So now you are on the top. I mean, you're among the 10% of the best candidates because just for the simple fact that you read the instruction of the game. That's the notice of competition. So always, our suggestion is to read carefully. Hope this is clear. So far, this is a general introduction to the circumstances, the situation, and what's going on in the competitions, your profiles that can have place in the institutions, and how to do it at first. But now we are approaching to the interesting part, the test that you will face. How will you pass them, right? Couple of things before I give the word to my colleague Stitch, who will talk more about the CBT, the computer-based test, but about the application. I mentioned before, and I'm mentioning now, that application is the first step of your of your parcours or your careers candidates. That's one thing. And also identifying the different tests that you will have to face. So everything is going to be here in the EPSO webpage or your careers. Now it's the ucareers.eu web. So you don't forget to create your profile here in this web and be familiar with it. This is the first step. So in this first step, you will get information about the test, for instance, not only in the notice, but his complementary information. We will come back to this in a couple of slides, but just to give you an idea about the reasoning skills test, verbal, numerical, and abstract, the written test could be on different structures now, after the new reform of the 2023 model, but also on the digital skills, the EU knowledge, and the multiple choice questionnaire, that is the knowledge exam. So these are the main tests that we will have to face. And again, we can find a few more inputs on the EPSO webpage. So this is a starting point when we want to become a candidate on any competition. And then coming back to surprise, the notice of competition. So please read it. Yeah, I know. We're insisting a lot. Come on again, this guy has an obsession with the notice of competition. Yes, I have it, honestly. But why? Because I'm not joking. 3 out of 4 questions we have or we get from you, from our candidates, from the people we help to pass the competitions, could be solved by just checking the notice of competition. Honestly, just like that. And also, it has an advantage. The notice of competition is an official legal document. So the organizers of any competition, EPSO or whoever it is, if it's in the official journal, they cannot break it. They need to follow word by word. And you can officially complain and put them into trouble if they don't follow it. And you say, guys, you say on your notice of competition, you should do this action and you haven't done it. So wait a minute, you have to do it. So it's always important to have that in mind. And then another element I mentioned before, generically the EPSO or your careers web page, but also every competition has its own web page. So in this web page, you will have all of the information, the number of candidates. You've seen the screenshot from the transport competition. So this is a recent screenshot. So you see the name of the competition, the different legal documents published related on the right. Also, you see the number of applications that they got on the first time they open and the second time they open, complementary. No, it was 700 more. I don't think that it was 3,000 and 3,000 plus. And also they publish a kind of guideline or expected path of the competition, expected, call it more like that. So a lot of information here. So don't forget to visit regularly this webpage to see what's going on. And of course, the day there will be an exam, they will publish it. They will say, okay, the exam is being here. Although you will get an information in your profile as a candidate, but still, it's always good. So you don't have to log in every time. You just check it. That's why visit it more than your Tinder profile, and it will be more rewarded at the end. Or no, maybe it depends on your Tinder profile. Okay, that was it. But then, final comment on the languages and the application. So I mentioned before that now we are in the 24 language regime. So this is what changed in the last months. EPSO was bound to change the model of competitions. So before that, it was language 1, 24 official languages, and language 2 was usually English working language, meaning that for the, as you see on the top, reasoning test was language 1, whenever you wanted, except English, and the field related and the written test was English. Now the truth is that because of that result, it's now the 4 languages you can apply to both exams, provided they are completely different. So if I choose for the reasoning test English, for the second, can I choose Spanish? Yes, sure. But can I choose English and English? No. That's the one thing that you cannot do. So that's the only thing. And also the notice will define which languages go in which places. Because this is now, but maybe tomorrow we have a new competition where they define differently the distribution of the test and the language where you can take it. So that will be there. And of course, on the application, so we say that it was the first test. So we're coming back to here. Some elements or hard facts that you cannot forget. First of all, you cannot modify it. Once you submit it, it's cast on stone. So please, please, please be sure that you check your application before submitting. It won't be the first time that, oh, I made a mistake. You think they will allow me to change, to modify? No, they won't. So be sure that you follow the rules and fill it completely. So be careful with the silly mistakes. So, and add all the information that is required. Don't think that they will check your LinkedIn profile to complete information or they will ask you for more. No, everything should be there, and everything should be linked to documents that provide that give evidence of what you are delivering or what you are proposing as experience. So this is important. It's important that you pay attention. As I say, it's a kind of first test for any candidate, because we know so many candidates who fail this in a first stand that it's not ideal, especially because you know that after you have passed the exams. So you deliver your application, you take all the tests, you study, you prepare yourself, and then you think you have passed the exams. Maybe you did, but then you get an email saying, sorry, despite you passing the exams, you cannot continue because you failed to meet the criteria. You failed to prove something in your application. That will be sad. We don't want that. So recapitulating on the application, give it time. So the moment it opens the application time, the register time, start to do it. Check it. Don't submit. I'm not saying submit the first day. No, I'm saying just give yourself time to do it. So make sure that you have the documents. It wouldn't be the first time candidates, oh, I will get them later. And the moment you are in a hurry to get them, you cannot have them. No. Before putting on your application, be sure that you got the evidence. So also important that you use the words from the vacancy notice in your application, meaning to explain things. Because no, I have a very particular experience. You see, I've been doing this and that. Yeah, fine. But explain it in a way that any reader will understand, because your application will be reviewed by human beings, not by machines. So they need to read your application and understand that, okay, the candidate really got experience in whatever the field is the competition. And sometimes if we are too specific, we use argot, slang, acronyms that are not those that they are using in the institutions. Imagine that you're coming from the private sector, then can be a problem. So we don't want that. I mean, just it's a simple thing to explain. Yes, and for reference, use the notice for the words, for the expression that they are using. And it's connected between these two elements by tip 4. Clearly explain your experience. It's not so obvious. What is obvious for you, maybe not for them. So always try to put yourself in the shoes of the reader. Maybe for no, but I got experience doing the following tasks. It's obvious, right? Everybody understand. You understand. Your colleagues in your job understand. But those who are reading it, they don't understand it. They don't get it. So be sure that you cross that bridge by explaining, by not using argot and acronyms. And last but not least, we're convinced that all of you, all our candidates are great. You have great experiences, very valid professional skills and competencies. But the problem is that those in front of you, those in the selection process, they don't know it, and they cannot know it. They cannot spend days with each one of you to know you. They can only spend minutes to know you. So make their life simple. Make their life easy to understand that you are the right candidate and that you got everything that is needed. That's why the application is so important. It's the first test, and don't fail it. It will be a pity. Okay, so pay attention, give yourself time. And that will be it for the first test, but there's a second test coming. That is the CBT. And probably Stitchu have something to say here. Maybe it's better if I remain a bit in silence because she's the real expert who has the knack of it.
Well, okay. Hello everyone. Now we are going to look at the CBT, the computer-based test. Well, the CBT is a reasoning test, consisting of 3 different parts: the verbal reasoning, the numerical reasoning, and the abstract reasoning. Well, all the details for each of these tests, of each part of the CBT will be specified in the notice of competition. In recent exams, this has been the structure. For the verbal reasoning, we have 20 questions for 35 minutes. Then for the numerical reasoning, we have 10 questions in 20 minutes, meaning 2 minutes per question. And for the abstract reasoning, we have 10 questions in 10 minutes, yeah? 1 minute per question. So, well, you can see that the time that we have for each exercise or for each test is quite limited. Also, well, as you can see, the pass score is also different, yeah? In these recent exams, the results of the numerical and abstract reasoning are combined, and, well, the verbal reasoning results are independent. Well, we will see, yeah? But in any case, it's important to know that passing the CBT is enough, yeah? In previous competition, well, it was needed to get the highest mark as possible. No, in this case, passing the CBT is enough. Well, as Inigo has mentioned several times, the languages. Well, regarding languages, this is the latest information, yeah, published. You will have to choose 2 different languages from the 24 official languages. With one of them, you will take the CBT, and with the other, probably, yeah, the other tests. But again, all of this is going to be specified in the notice of competition. But, well, in any case, bear in mind that the language 1 and language 2 cannot be the same. Yeah, this is the point, as Inigo has mentioned several times. So, well, our recommendation is to choose English as the language 2. Firstly, because the most updated information is available in English. And secondly, because, well, you are already demonstrating a good level of proficiency in one of the main working languages, yeah, in the institutions. But, well, this is an advice, you decide. Well, we go with the verbal reasoning. Well, in verbal reasoning, we will be presented with a short test on any topic, yeah, similar to what you see on the slide, and we have to deduce which option would be the correct one. In this test, well, our ability to understand the key concepts and our deductive reasoning skills are measured. Yeah, these are the points. To do well these kind of exercises, well, we need to read the text and the questions very, very carefully. Yeah, be careful not to assume concepts that are not in the text. You may know something, I don't know, maybe you know something, yeah, about a specific topic, or you may imagine something, but be careful. Only assume the concepts and the information that you are given. Well, when choosing the correct answer, we need to be careful to distinguish between false answers and doubtful answers. Yeah, it's not the same. So be careful with this small detail. Yeah, because a small detail can make a difference. And also, we'll keep in mind that omitting part of the information in an answer does not make it incorrect. Yeah, imagine that in the text you have a lot of details of a topic, of an idea, and then the answer option is quite general, but maybe it's true. Yeah, it doesn't mean that it's incorrect. Yeah, this is the idea. And lastly, be careful with frequencies. Usually, when there are very strong frequencies, like always, never, all, this kind of words, yeah, when they appear in the answer options, usually that option is not going to be correct. Yeah, maybe if it's so obvious, and in some cases it can be the correct option, yeah, but in general, when you see something like that, it's not going to be the correct option. So, well, that's all regarding the verbal reasoning. As you have seen, it's about reasoning from a text, yeah, presented to us. This test, well, doesn't aim to measure your language proficiency, yeah, it's a reasoning test. So now let's move on to the numerical reasoning. Well, in numerical reasoning exercises, you will be presented with a problem that you will have to solve using numbers. Well, typically, the exercise consists of a text and a table and a graph, or a combination, yeah? Also, well, there might be exercises where you only have text. Well, this test aims to measure the ability to identify relevant data, yeah, as well as the ability to identify the fastest way to solve the problem. Yeah, we want to do as few calculations as possible. Yeah, this is the point. So, well, it's also beneficial if we are able to do quick mental calculations, yeah, as this could help us solving exercises without needing to use the calculator. Yeah, mental agility is going to be our best friend for this type of exercises. So to do well in this numerical reasoning, there are several things to consider. Well, firstly, we need to have, well, certain concepts very, very clear, yeah, especially fractions, percentages, equations, and proportion, and all of these concepts, yeah. Then, well, we need to read the question presented to us very carefully and be able to identify the necessary data because, well, as you will see, we usually don't need all the data we are provided. So be careful. And lastly, well, keep in mind that it's possible to use estimation, yeah, to solve some exercises. We don't always need to perform specific operations. If we can avoid using the calculator, better, yeah. So well, this is it. Well, on the presentation, you have the solution to the exercise you got on the slide, just in case anyone wants to take a look. All right, and let's move on to abstract reasoning now. Well, in these exercises, we'll be given a sequence of 5 figures, yeah, and we have to find the 6th figure that would correspond to that sequence. We will have to choose from 5 possible options. In these cases, well, they will only present figures in black and white, yeah, there won't be any colored element. And also keep in mind that if there is any change in size in any of the elements that make up the figure, this change will be easily perceptible, yeah, so no worries on that part. So, well, the key is to do well in these exercises. Well, we need to look for the different rules, yeah, that may be present among the figures. Well, we also have to look for patterns and make sure that the patterns we identify apply to all the elements in the series. Yeah, we can just ignore an element. We have to consider all of the elements that we have on the exercise. And well, the best approach is to, or what we recommend, is to eliminate the options that you clearly see that cannot be correct. Yeah, so that you will narrow the possibilities. And well, to search for patterns that may exist in an exercise, well, a good strategy can be to isolate each element that makes up the figure and analyze it, well, analyze the behavior independently, yeah? And once we do this analysis with all the elements, we can combine all the behaviors and we will have the correct answer option, yeah? This will be our recommendation to start practicing with the, well, abstract reasoning exercises. Well, so now in general, some general tips for the CBT. Well, the first one, familiarize yourself with the environment. Try to do the exercises in a real exam-like situation. Set the time you will have for each exercise, yeah? Do the exercise as you will have to do them in the exam. Doing it from home, you won't be able to have any physical item, yeah? Everything will be on the screen. And when I say everything, I mean everything, yeah? No paper, no pen, no calculator, nothing physical. I mean, you will have everything on the screen. So our recommendation is to practice with the calculator on the screen, the notepad on the screen, and everything on the screen so that you can get familiar with the environment and always controlling the time. Well, on the other hand, especially for the numerical reasoning, keep in mind that the calculator doesn't give you the solution. It's useless to start doing many operations with the calculator if we don't know what we are calculating. Yeah, this is the point. And well, this is related to the next tip, that is think first, then act. It's important to make good use of the time we have for each exercise, yeah, for all the reasoning text. Because, well, as you have seen, the time we have is very, very limited. We have to think things before starting to do anything, yeah? And when we have thought, then we are going to start acting. Well, the next point, this is reasoning, nothing else, yeah? It can be verbal, numerical, abstract, but it is reasoning, yeah? It's not a language knowledge exam, it's not a maths exam, it's not. What is measured here is our ability to reason, yeah, through some situations, some different situations presented to us, yeah, so this is the point. And lastly, well, you know that nerves are your worst enemy. We have to control our nerves, and if at any point, well, nerves block us, yeah, move on to the next question, yeah, don't waste time in a single question, yeah, move on to the next one. It's going to you will have an easier one, and you are going to be able to solve it. Yeah, so avoid, please, wasting time. And also, well, I have already repeated that. I have already said that, well, nowadays with this new model, passing the CBT is enough. Yeah, so well, all of this information is important to focus our preparation to the exam. And well, this is all about the CBT. Now, well, let's move on to the written test or case study. Yeah. Well, this test, oh, sorry, 1 second. Yeah. This test, well, this test is done with the other two tests, yeah, but you will have the documents available and more or less 2 weeks in advance. Firstly, well, we are going to look some key points of this test, yeah, this written test or case study, because well, you know that up until now it was the case study. Now EPSO has published some information that is going to be in the written test, but well, the properties, well, they seem that they are quite similar, so we are going to analyze it from the information that we have right now. So the key points of this exercise, well, you don't need external knowledge for this test, yeah? They will share information on a topic that may be more or less related to your area of expertise, but the only information or knowledge you need about the topic is the information provided, yeah? You don't need external knowledge, but well, in the specialist competition, keep in mind that the documents are going to be related or going to be connected, yeah, to the competition topic. Well, additionally, keep in mind that it is a competency exam. Yeah, although it's related to the task or the position or the knowledge for those in the specific competitions. This test is a competency exam. Yeah, these competencies are going to be specified in the notice of competition. Yeah, but well, they are usually related to communication. Yeah, so we have to think, how can I offer good communication? So to offer good communication, we need to analyze all the information. We have to prioritize ideas. We have to organize the relevant information, self-management. Yeah, all of these skills are involved to offer good communication. Then on one, it's crucial to understand the instructions very, very well. We must pay close attention to what we are being asked, yeah, and to do, and we have to pay attention to how do I need to answer, yeah, how can I feel, or how can I cover what I am requested to cover. So this is the point, yeah, pay close attention to the instructions. Failing to notice a detail provided in the instructions can mean the difference between submitting a complete exercise or an incomplete one, so be careful. And the last key, well, we must be able to handle a lot of information under time pressure. Yeah, we will have a lot of information to analyze and organize, and the time we have for this is very, very limited. Yeah, it's a test where, well, we can't afford to lose a single minute of concentration. And now, regarding the structure of the written test, well, we'll be provided with a booklet consisting of several documents. The number and length of the documents well, can vary, yeah, there is no fixed number. Well, we'll have to complete the exercise in the interface, not in Word, yeah. Our advice is to get used during practice, to get used not to using the autocorrect feature yet during practice, so we can focus more on avoiding spelling and mistakes and grammar mistakes. Well, you will have 45 minutes to complete the exercise. Before the exam day, you must have fully studied and fully analyzed all the documentation provided to you. Yeah, you only have 45 minutes to answer the questions posed. Yeah, so well, it's important to plan a strategy. Yeah, okay, we can use a couple of minutes to organize all the information on how will we structure the text. Then I can use 40 minutes to write the text. And then I can use the final 3 minutes for the revision. Yeah, for example, we always reserve several minutes for review. Yeah, to ensure we don't leave anything incomplete. And finally, well, keep in mind that there is no possibility of consulting external sources. The only information we can use for the development of the exercise is what is provided in the booklet, yeah, nothing else. Well, we can't supplement it with any external information. And well, I repeat it, keep in mind that there is no possibility to use this autocorrect feature, so pay attention to avoiding spelling and grammatical mistakes. So here, well, we have some points, yeah, some general tips regarding the case study. Maybe I'm going to repeat some concepts or what they are important. Well, you will be given a booklet with a lot of information. Yeah? This information will consist of data, different reports, emails, or any other type of documents, yeah? And you will have to respond to a series of objectives or questions that are set against a real background, yeah? So this is the point on the written test. Also, well, you will have all the documentation available in advance, at least a week before the exam. Although it may be closer to 2 weeks, but well, at least 1 week before the exam. Remember that for the specialist competitions, the documents are linked to the subject or the competition. Yeah, this is important. And well, another important point is that only communication is evaluated. Be careful with this. Well, we put only in quotes because, well, we have to be careful with this. Yeah, to offer good communication, we have to do many things. Yeah, analyzing the information, prioritizing, organizing, self-managing, and more things. Yeah, there are many things under the umbrella of good communication. So be careful. Don't be overconfident with this. Yeah, it's not only communication. No, communication is very, very difficult. Yeah, it's a very big word. So be careful. Okay, well, more things. Well, to the key to this test, to this written text, to this part of the exam, is to prepare in advance. Yeah. Well, on one hand, it's important to practice. It's important to practice by doing different written tests with different demands, with different topics, types of information, different objectives. So, well, so that you can improve your skills. And on the other hand, it's also important to study all the documentation given to us in advance, yeah? Because, well, in the exam, we don't have time to waste. We don't have time to start thinking. We don't have time to, well, to doubt, yeah? So better if we practice. Well, more things. Well, in principle, you will be able to take this test in any of the 24 official languages. However, EPSO recommends doing it in English. So, well, we encourage you to do so. And the last one, well, remember that you will have to do all the text on the same day. Yeah, I mean the CBT, the MCQ, the written test, everything. Yeah. Usually, the written test is the last test, so you have to be prepared to start a good exercise after more than 2 hours of exam. So this is another fact. Yeah, it's not that okay, now I'm going to do a written test. No, you are going to be doing the CBT, the MCQ, and then the case study or the written test. Yeah, so this is the point. It's going to be a long exam. Okay, so well, here to wrap up with the written test and general tips. Well, practice. It's very important that you practice, yeah, writing text in different situations, different information, varying requirements, different objectives, everything. Yeah, practice. Also, allocate time to work before the exam. You will need to analyze all the documentation provided to you to prepare well this test. Also, remember that the topic is not a problem. Yeah, they can present to you any topic, well, except for those in the specific competitions. Yeah, it doesn't matter. All the necessary information will be in the booklet. So you have all the information you need, yeah, to provide a good exercise. So forget about, well, what will be the topic. Don't worry about that. And the last one, will practice more. Yeah. It's the only way to do a good written test in just 45 minutes, yeah, because it's a very limited time. Practice, practice, and practice. And well, that's all about the written test. And now I leave you with my colleagues. I think that Sergio is going to continue with the digital skills.
Well, good evening, everyone. This is the first time we are facing this digital skill exam, so we don't have a good reference about this, no? Only some questions that EPSO published on their website, so it's difficult to know how it's going to be. Well, we see in this question that they are not very demanding. So it would be a mistake to overlook it. So we believe that studying on our test, it will be a good chance to pass the exam and avoid to fail in the easiest part of the competition. So let's review the questions. Information and data literacy. What do you call a software needed to access the internet? A spreadsheet, modem, explorer, browser, communicator. Well, you maybe doubt without explorer and browser, but it's clearly a browser because it's software we use to is designed to get information and to navigate into the internet. And Explorer is more for a software application that we use to navigate and manage files and folders in the computer. The second question, communication and collaboration. How can I automatically move all emails and receive from a certain address to a certain folder? No? Using a rule, using an alert, using a quick step, using a HTTP protocol, using a RSS feed. Well, we can doubt again between a rule or quick step. Rule is a predefined set of criteria that performs actions only on incoming emails. So it's the right one, not the quick step, because it's a user-initiated action that you perform on a selected email. So in the next slide, well, we see the 5 areas that the exam will cover. The first one is information and data literacy. In that one, focus on the ability to search and organize, evaluate digital information efficiently. We'll see about search engines, for example, a browser, the protocol we use to communicate between the server and a browser. We'll see about the different types of backups, for example. In the second one, the communication and collaboration, we'll see about the digital platforms or services that facilitate the creation, organization, and sharing of digital content and information. Digital content creation, we'll see about copyright, Creative Commons licenses, the different types. Safety, we'll analyze the different types of malwares. We'll talk about antivirus, firewall, etc. And problem solving, we'll have an overall view about the different parts of an electronic device, for example, CPU, RAM and ROM memory. So in the next slide, well, advice for digital, check what you know, most common programs and tutorials, and the reference is Windows Office environment. We know that most likely many questions will be related to the most common programs, no? For example, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or Outlook. So we think that's the easiest part of the competition, and we have a lot of tests, no, more than 250 questions with feedback and explanation, that it's a good base to study from this and avoid to fail in this part. So yeah, that's all for.
Okay, so thank you, Sticho and Sergio. So taking back on the knowledge exam multiple choice, that's the last test, probably the most relevant according to the new model for the competitions, because the ranking of the candidates will be established following the results on the multiple choice. Although you have to pass the computer-based test, you have to pass 5 out of 10. The written test, at the end, the one that will give you the top position will be to get a 30 out of 30 in the multiple choice. So that's why we left it for the end, right? So important to know, elements to know, that it will match the profile of the competition, meaning for generalists, it will be a general knowledge, your policies, your institutions, while for transport, it will be transport topics, or for nuclear scientists, we will see nuclear. So to prepare this, it's important that to remember a couple of things. There is no official booklet or source of study. It's only for the generalists that they will get some kind of book. According to EPSO, they have announced it that they will provide a big book of 500, 600 pages, and they will translate this to the 24 official languages. But it's good news for all of you because it's guaranteed that everybody is at the same level for the multiple choice, while for the specialist competitions, not having this kind of document, it's an issue. That's why we will see that we make reference to English for the multiple choice, because most of the sources, materials, and everything that we can use to study, it's in English. Unfortunately, that's the reality. It's nothing that we can do. If anything, French for EU law could be a possibility, but for other areas of expertise, it's very strange to have the same amount of materials in English and any other language. Usually, English is the majority. So, regarding and also important that for studying and preparing this exam is important the quality before the quantity. It's not about trying to read to study everything, but to being smart and studying the key parts. So that's one thing. Regarding the structure of the exam itself, it will be 30 questions. As I say, it's described in the notice, so just pay attention because they could introduce a different standard of number of questions. 40 minutes in principle, only the correct answers count. So don't worry if you make a mistake and you fail one of the answers, because still it's not a problem. You don't get a minus, you just get zero. And the final rule, how they are going to be taken into account, or the weight, it's going to be set in the notice of competition. Just again, the rules of the game. Because we have seen some differences there was in intellectual property where the writing has some weight in the final results. But overall, what we have seen for most of the new competitions or the competitions under the new model is that the results of the multiple choice are the most relevant ones, the ones that establish the ranking of the candidates. So, insisting on some ideas. So, no documents provided by EPSO exception for the 85 generalist. The notice is key to guide you to see what are the areas that you need to study, the elements that you have to watch or pay attention. We'll see now the example clear with nuclear. 30 questions, one answers don't count, criteria for passing the competition, and languages, again, 24 languages. But what is the source, the main source of the language? Well, in which language is the main source of materials for the competition? So this is important. And if we go to a practical thing, let's move now to see transport. How do we see it? We did already a webinar in the past where we described a little bit the whole process of how we reach this kind of list of resources. So I'm not going to stop there, but just to recapitulate. So first of all, first place, if we are talking about transport policy, the main source of information about transport policy is the DG, the Direction General, the entity in charge of the transport policy, right? In the European Commission, that is DG Move. So you need to go to the web and see all the policies they're dealing with, all the topics, all the items, right? But remember that sometimes there are other websites and other entities that also work on transport, not only the Move. So good to check on them. By the way, all this work there contains links, so you will have access later. So especially in the areas of policy of aviation, maritime, rail, road, and the multimodality, the new smart, sustainable strategy of transport, some other areas, the 10T networks and the new regulation, the 10T. This is also important. All this is the webpage of the EMOV. Sometimes the web is not the most updated source. You need to look somewhere else, but at least you got the departing point. You got the initial ideas, and from there you complete. So there is not official book, so meaning that you have to create your own notes, your own diagrams and schemes to study these elements. Also, the agencies. It's not ES, but it should be ERA, the European Railway Agency, the EMSA, Maritime, Aviation, EASA, CINEA, all these deal with transport. So it's important that you go through those agencies, check what they do, how they help to implement the policies, the actions that they cover, because not all of them, they do the same. Eurostat, of course, they contain numbers and figures of transport, and also the 2023 transport booklet available on the MOVE's web page is also useful. Why? But only figures, numbers, yes. But what if the organizers of the competition they decide to ask you what we call trivial type questions? For instance, what is the country with the longest railway network in Europe? So you got the answer in the transport booklet. Or what is the country in Europe which has more car accidents? That's in Eurostat. So I mean, maybe not the past questions, not the questions that really reflect how good you are in transport, maybe, but they're still useful and still valid questions for this exam. So better to have them in mind and to study them beforehand. So this is an overall idea of the transport, and this is extracted directly from the notice of competition and the items that we saw there. So again, we invite you to visit the webinar to see how we elaborated that logic. But what if we move to nuclear? Oops. So nuclear, we see that these are the professional experiences. Now this is a capture from the notice. We see nuclear, energy engineer, nuclear fuel. That's for the professional experience and the different tasks, right, or activities. So it gives us already the tone, the ideas that they're looking for, at least for the profile of file field one, nuclear safeguards inspectors. But from there, we move to the Annex 2, typical duties. That's our favorite because it really contains the map for the knowledge or to the knowledge. So we see there that how they mention carrying out inspection states of nuclear fuel cycle. Then we move on. We see software equipment and instruments for their use or on-site portable headquarters. So or point four, implementing the nuclear cooperation agreements with third parties. Point five, we see the International Atomic Energy Agency, the ITER project, and then statistical analysis of nuclear materials, delivery of nuclear safeguards training initiatives. So meaning that it's clear that any professional, any candidate to be part of this competition with a valid knowledge and valid background should have a deep knowledge on all these items, so on nuclear science, nuclear theory and practice. So we'll see some sources to gather that knowledge. Besides your books from the faculty, I guess that you already study this kind of science at the university. Otherwise, it becomes a bit difficult. So, and for the second field, policy office in the area of nuclear energy, although it's a policy officer still, it's demands to be highly qualified in the area of nuclear energy and nuclear science. Same idea as before regarding the professional experience that give us the tone, give us the aspects that we need to specialize. And we go to the field number 2, the Annex 2. We see that safety of nuclear facilities, safe management of spent fuel and radioactive waste, the commission of nuclear facilities, Euratom legislation, so, conducting analysis and initiating steering studies related to nuclear energy, nuclear safety, nuclear materials, nuclear fuel cycle, non-proliferation, dimension of nuclear decommissioning and waste management. So knowing about radioactivity, nuclear materials, the nuclear theme is key. All these elements can be clearly deducted from the information that you got available in the notice. Now you understand my obsession with the notice because you really can get a wealth of information from it. So, and that allows us to define the list of topics or the list of materials we suggest for study. So, scientific topics, for instance, the Introduction to Nuclear Physics is a classic manual on nuclear science, so not big news, and it's quite obvious. But also the International Atomic Energy Agency with technical publications. They have a really big set of public access books. Booklets where you can study and you can read about the the management of nuclear waste, the commission of nuclear facilities, nuclear treaties at international level, plenty of things, so mostly technical. And if we go to the regulation side, because we saw that there's plenty of references to the regulation, but also with a deep technical touch. Because if you go into deep into the overview of the regulation, and particularly the Treaty on the European Atomic Energy Community, Euratom, you will see that there are clear reference to the science, to the physics of nuclear energy. So the Convention of Nuclear Safety, safety of nuclear installations. So there's plenty of these elements that you need to cover. And the idea is not that you don't print all the legal documents and you study them, but you go reading them article by article with your book note, taking notes and trying to answer all these not to answer, but to compile of the knowledge that you really need. Because sometimes we get a lot of pages, a lot of paper, but when we read it and we understand it, we see that what we really need is only a few lines engulfing the real knowledge, the deep insight that we need to face the exam, nothing else. But it's important that you use an interface called your hand, your pen, and your paper, in the sense to put the knowledge that you see on your paper so you can do the schematics, the diagrams, and understand it, because in that way your brain will retain all that information. The other way around, it won't work. You just use the screen to study. So, and entities are also important. So the Euratom Supply Agency, the use fusion for energy union undertaking, it's important. ITER project is also important. So there are plenty. We will put the ITER link later on, but you got the idea. So now you got real starting list to study and to prepare yourselves for this exam, because we know several of you came to us asking about this, and we promise we will come back to it. So now you have it. So good luck and good work above all to study on this part. That's for nuclear. But what about generalist? And wait, that on the screen is not generalist. That is a different thing. Yeah, that's a different thing, but it's the same thing. It's an internal competition of the Commission for HT3. The human resources of the Commission, they committed to publish a list of items or resources for studying. Let's remember that the internal competition of the Commission, they have a multiple choice questionnaire on EU knowledge and EU policies. Exactly the same as generalist. Same thing. So it gave us a good idea of what could be. Probably these materials that they share, this list of items that you see there on your screen, are the same that EPSO is using as a departing point to publish their booklet of 500 pages with information. Okay, so this is important to have in mind. The advantage that once EPSO has it is that it will be translated to the 24 languages. So, but still, it's a lot of information that we need to deal with. But wait, the booklet is not available, right? And I'm not working in the commission, so I don't have access to the list of documents, right? Again, but no problem, because although that list of documents that you saw contain a lot of redundancy, a lot of repetitions that they were unnecessary, first of all, and second, they were updated. So this is not the list provided by the human resources are not probably it's not the most effective list ever. So we propose you some, you see, only 5 points. Yeah, but believe me, if you want to study all that, you will need a lot of hours. It won't be easy. It won't be something that can be done in just 5 minutes. So the treaties, the Treaty of the European Union and the Treaty of Functioning of the European Union, those are key. They contain a lot of information about the institutions, the principles of the institutions, and everything, how it works. It's in the treaties. So study the treaties. Your website. When we say your website, we refer to the main political priorities. The 6 political priorities are there described. A lot of fact sheets and inputs are in the EU website. So you need to go there and start reading. But if you think it's too much or too difficult, you can start with the ABC of the EU law. There is a new edition from 2023. So quite updated, and it's good to understand better the relation between the EU law, the policies, how everything is done. So it's a good departing point to see if you are new in this world of the European institutions. Of course, the fact sheets of the European Parliament, they are quite complete. They cover all the policies, and they can go quite deep, even a bit deeper than you will need. But as a departing point, as a way of compiling information on regulation policies on any aspect or any big topic of policy, they are excellent. And last but not least, now let's take advantage of what the Commission has done, publishing the summaries or in each political priority. They have published six political priorities, six summaries that they contemplate or they try to compile all the activities and all the actions. Believe me, that's a lot. These documents really contain a wealth of information. So with this, we promise that you have until the summer to keep studying. Still, you will see that there are some areas that you still need to reinforce, despite going through all these sources. So in the sense that it's so huge, so big the information that you can access only from here, that even after the summer you will have fun from them. So final tips on the multiple choice: take your time. Remember, I mentioned with different sources, depends on the amount of the information, can really take you a while, and also you need to be patient to little by little acquire that knowledge. Don't try to study it just by heart from one day to another, because it won't work like that for the exam. Verify MCQ information in the notice. This is important, as we just did with nuclear. Explain your experience. No, I mean, use your experience to understand better the duties from the duties and the tasks on the notice, to elaborate possible sources of information on the MCQ. Quality before quantity, in the sense that it's not that you get the biggest book that you are better prepared. It's that you're smarter applying what you know, how you know it, and your reading of the notice to study the multiple choice. And last but not least, and probably the hardest point, errors made while studying are the best teachers, in the sense that, yes, I mean, when we are preparing ourselves, we ask ourselves questions and we fail. We don't need to see the, like, oh my goodness, I'm going to fail because I failed the questions. No, it's, wait, I failed these questions. I didn't know anything about them, meaning that I need to study. I need to cover that areas. And if I get a very good results in practicing some tests, doing whatever, the point is that I'm not expected to stay there. I'm expected to move to the areas that I don't know. So don't get overconfident. That's why errors made while studying are the best teachers, because they help you to point you in the right direction of what you need to study and what you don't need to study. So important to remember this. And of course, let's not forget, you can always go back to the notice of competition to look for more information, more inspiration, and details on the multiple choice. Yeah, I know. Again, yes, again. But luckily, it will be the last time I mention it. No worry. Yeah. How long does the position process take? This is for another question that you have. Well, important to see how it goes in the webpage of the competitions. And the original plan for the new model of 2023 is 6 months. Here we got an example of for intellectual property, and that it was supposed to be the first competition in the new model. The reality is that it didn't manage to publish the list in the beginning of February 2024. It's still frozen, this competition, so it failed a bit, the system. But still, that was the idea, and I just put it just to show you that that was really the plan for them to have it ready in 6 months time. So the moment the IT platform worked well, it will be done like that, paying attention to the holidays and breaks that could be in the middle, because it could delay a little bit the whole process. Could be 7-8 months, because imagine in the middle is August, and they should consider this is not a valid month between 15th of July or 15th of August. So that's why it's important. But always think that the process, once the things are running smoothly, will be quite fast, 6 months. So we need to prepare a bit earlier than the day they open the competition. Just like that. So publication of the call, the candidacy, the candidature to submit 1 month, then the test, CVT knowledge, the test, write an exercise, what would be 1 month afterwards, no more than that. So usually, well, no, it will be online and all on the same day. It's not usually, it will be like that under the new model. The correction of the exams will be 2 or 3 months. They will rank you following the multiple choice, and they will correct only the highest results on the multiple choice, the written test. So it's not that they are, imagine that there are 1,000 candidates and they are correcting as many as twice the number of spots, and there are 50 spots. So meaning they will correct 100 written tests among the 100 best scores of the multiple choice, just like that. And then if you pass all these elements, they will check your documents and everything that it's in order. So, and you will be on the reserve list. The reserve list is valid for 1.5 years. In theory. In practice, it will be longer because usually once they have organized a process, they don't want to reorganize another one after 1.5 years. They prefer to keep it open, so giving you more opportunities to become officers of the institutions. No one can be an officer of the institution without being in a reserve list. Now, this is one of the sacred rules of the system, so that's why it's so important to be in one reserve list, like the one that you will be in a few months' time. And then from the reserve list could be a main selection process, mostly an interview, to select the candidates, because there will be a pool of 50 candidates, 100, and they open a vacancy. You submit your application, and that's it, how it's done. And then when should you start to prepare the competitions? How many hours? So it's the first time in an EPSO competition, so you should start earlier. So at least 3 or 2 months before the competition opens, it will be the ideal. So you start to get familiar with the CBT, reading the materials for the knowledge exam, and establish your list of sources and resources to study it. And once the competition notice is published, you can start practice hard on the 3 tests, especially practice at least once per week the 3 tests together, because it's not the same when you practice I do today CBT, tomorrow I do multiple choice, tomorrow I do written, and when you have to do the 3 in one morning and one afternoon. Energy is an aspect to pay attention when you're dealing with exam, and also to forecast all the different elements. So this is a continuous process. Don't think this can be done in one day, in 1 week. No, it's something that needs to be done every day steadily, or at least every week. We'll see how many hours, but at least start yourself 3 or at least 2 months before the opening of the competition. On ideal conditions, EPSO announced the competitions 2 or 3 months before they open the time for register. So that will be the moment you see them announce them on the EPSO webpage. That's your goal. If you've already been part of the EPSO competitions, probably you don't need to prepare so much the CBT. So little by little, you catch up, you get warm up again. So and if it's not new, so you can recover your notes and restudy again the materials you already compiled. If it's for you new, the multiple choice, the knowledge exam, then maybe go to the previous slide to consider preparing advanced that part, although the CBT can be later. And once the notice is published that everything is confirmed, the type of test, the time given for each test, and the conditions, please, both cases is the same. Dedicate quality time to prepare, to study the knowledge part, to practice the writing. It's very important, even if the topic of the writing is not related to your competition, you just take another writing test or case study for practice. It's always useful because it's the time management, foreseeing the situation, managing yourself under pressure, that is important to have it. So all these elements are key. And yeah, of course, and this is completed with the hours that you need. So briefly, so a few months before, 2 months before, you start studying. So if you are completely new on this, probably you will need more hours per week. The circles are hours per week. You will need maybe 5 hours per week. So meaning it could be a long Sunday morning, a long Saturday afternoon, or maybe you can split it in 2 days. You decide. Quality time, meaning disconnect of everything, just study for these few hours and prepare yourself. If you're already veteran, you know the deal. Maybe you don't need to spend so much time. You don't need to dedicate more time to the CBT at first. You can dedicate only the time to the multiple choice or to the written test because it's the new thing. Be honest with yourself. Don't lie to yourself. The only thing is that once the notice is coming, once the competition is coming, you need to dedicate more time. So increase the time, the hours, that you deliver to the study. And of course, the very first day, you have 4 weeks more or less to subscribe to or to register to the competition. So it's a good way to speed up your study and your preparation while you are preparing your application. So you move up to 6-9 hours per week. If you're already a veteran, 9-12 hours. If you're a rookie, but that's the idea. Of course, this is for orientation purposes, to give you an idea. But it's important that it's quality time, first of all, and second, being honest. Some people may need at the beginning more hours to catch up with the CBT or to the knowledge part, but maybe later they need less hours because they already have done the homework previously. Vice versa, some people maybe couldn't devote more time at the first, and then they need more time later. Yes, that's possible. That's perfectly valid. I mean, this is not a precise formula. This is not chemistry. This is human science, let's say. So it's an orientation. It's a departing point, and from here you prepare your own plan. But make simple plans. Don't overcomplicate yourselves with the study plans because you will get frustrated and you will never fulfill it. So please be sure that you create something that is feasible and contains the elements required to prepare for the competition, meaning the 3 tests, and that you cover all the ground required. So that's it. So the last question is, how can we help you? What can Jessima Lopez do for you? So we can organize as today free webinars and materials. Also, we organize EPSO competition trainings, CBT, multiple choice, written tests. Of course, the CBT training, we just opened a new training, this one in Spanish, but soon we will open another one in English. So also trainings for the internal competition of the institutions. If you need help for another job application with your application review or preparing the interviews as well, we can help you with that. So don't hesitate to contact us, to visit our social media links to know what we can do for you, or take advantage of the free materials that we have prepared and elaborated. You will get the links so you can visit no matter whenever you want. And this is a little bit of what we can tell you for today. So let's go for your questions. We have a few minutes left. Sorry for because of the overtime. Tell us, what are your questions? Let me see also the chat, so I can see some of the questions left. Okay. Okay, regarding the languages for the written test, the problem is that the human beings are correcting the test. Well, French speakers, Spanish speakers are plenty, so drafting your writing in those languages are fine to correct. The problem is that usually the writing and the multiple choice have the same language, so be sure that the sources and the materials for studying the multiple choice are also available in that language, because sometimes the language may affect the way we study and the technical slang changes a lot. I mean, if it's for the knowledge, that's fine. You will have a booklet in the language, not a big deal. But I'm thinking about nuclear. When we were looking for the resources and materials, we couldn't find anything else than in English. So bear that in mind. Regarding the internal competitions, no, at this point, we don't have information about the new calendar. We know that they are behind schedule. They are dealing with the HT3 as the latest competition that they open, but the others probably will come before the summer break to register during the summer break and then start during autumn, something like that, because remember that 88, 8010, 8012 are now still waiting for results of the talent to go to the interviews. 85 is still in motion, and 84 has just ended the interviews. So there are plenty of competitions active that are behind schedule. So we don't expect that they will be earlier anymore. So, we'll expect it for us to have reading materials regarding the digital skill tests. At least from EPSO, they won't provide any digital materials. Materials for the digital skills part. I mean, this is up to you, and we can propose you some ideas. I mean, you can check on the internet the different type of softwares. just as a reference the Office package for checking on the software and the programs, but there is not a confirmed, at least from EPSO, provided a list of items for study. Okay, let me see. Regarding the transport test, yes, at this moment, we think that if everything goes fine with the CAS exam, 14th of June, we will have those exams before the summer break, meaning before mid-July. Because at this moment, nuclear and transport are the most advanced competitions. So it's very likely that we will see them before the summer break. And after the summer break, we could see crisis, migration, and economies back again into the exam. Or could be also nuclear before summer and transport immediately after the summer break, but sure only these dates. Mid-July, even mid-July. Remember that the EPSO usually takes holidays mid-July, mid-August, between these two dates. But due to the problems and the delays accumulated during the last years, during the last summers, EPSO was active and was operating. Don't think to the risk of making the exams between 15th of July, 15th of August, but still it could be immediately before, immediately after. That's a possibility. Okay. Yes, for nuclear, we expect a similar timeline. Nuclear is only a few hundred candidates, so it's a competition that should be easy to organize from a logistic perspective. That's why we pay close attention to see how the CAS exam goes, because if it goes fine, I think nuclear will be the next exam earlier than transport, because if you combine the two profiles in nuclear, they are half of the candidates in transport. So from a practical perspective, you organize a smaller competition, so it's easier to fix the problem if something happens than to organize the biggest one. So you organize the small one, goes fine, then you move to the big one. Okay, so I think this is it. I don't know if there is any other question or comment.
Yes, I have two questions, please. Good
Yeah,
evening.
go ahead, Carlos.
Thank you very much for your time and explanations to the three of you. I would like to know for the generalized competition, so do you think the competition will take place more likely after the summer or even later during the year, nearly Christmas or?
Considering current scenario, most likely competition will be open for register in end of the year, and exam should take place early 2025. That's what we are thinking at this point. If everything goes excellent, fantastically well on the 14th of June with the CAS exam and the new IT platform works so well that they can speed up, they will try. But at this point, after so many setbacks, they will be cautious. So we're expecting end of the year, not earlier than that.
Okay, thank you very much. And the second question is, do you think attending courses about Microsoft Excel, Word, and PowerPoint would be useful for the digital skills test?
Don't think so at this point. I mean, secretaries, HTAC will have a word exam, some kind of that could be useful, but for generalists, we don't think that at this point, this kind of trainings will be a lot of information, but of that information, only a few questions will come out. It's more being curious and elaborating your own list of items to study, like, for instance, the different type of image files, or the difference between the type of softwares, coding programs or coding languages, and so on, little by little, because you know a lot about digital. I mean, people are digital now. Just a question of just putting on paper, realizing that you know that. So when you get the question, you realize, oh, I know this question. Yes, because of the following. Because the typical thing when we get the question for the first time, we don't realize, but then later, oh yeah, but I knew it. So let's think about it in advance. That's what our advice.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. And yes, regarding one day for the candidate may be difficult for the candidates. Yes, but that's why I don't think that it should be something early July or in August for exam like transport. Or they may offer different dates. Depends. We will see how is the new model according to the new IT platform. I think that the technical feature will set the conditions of the exam. Okay, so I think this is it for the moment. So, well, we will upload on the coming days the video recording, also with the presentation. Thank you everyone for coming to today's webinar. Remember that tomorrow we will have the cast webinar in Spanish and Español, and also our competitions webinar in Español on Thursday, on the 9th of May, the Day of Europe, just to celebrate the end of this week, where we are trying to share you more information, more useful materials, everything to help you to get your career inside the European institutions. So thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.